The galaxy had long forgotten Earth. At least that was what the Galactic Council told everyone. They said humanity had been reckless, dangerous, and unstable, too violent to coexist in a galaxy striving for peace. 3,000 years ago, the Council declared that Earth had destroyed itself in a catastrophic war, its people wiped away by their own arrogance. To most species, it was a cautionary tale, repeated in academies and archives. Do not follow the path of the humans, or you too will perish. But not everyone believed. Across the outer systems, in forgotten colonies and ancient ruins, whispers remained. Stories told of ships that fled before the Council's fleets descended on Earth. Rumors of survivors scattered among the stars, carrying the old fire of humanity in their veins. Most dismissed them as myths. After all, 3,000 years was long enough for bloodlines to thin, for cultures to dissolve, for memories to fade into dust. And yet the myth endured. One day, humanity will return. In the far reaches of the Orion Spur, hidden beyond trade lanes and council patrols, lay Nova Era, a barren world that should have been of no consequence. Its skies were harsh, its soil unforgiving, its storms laced with static that crippled scanners. For millennia, no one dared settle there, but buried deep within those storms, shielded from prying eyes, a city thrived. Nova Era was the last refuge of humankind. Its towers were carved into mountains, its shipyards hidden beneath oceans of liquid methane, its people hardened by centuries of secrecy. They were not the earthborn humans of legend. Their features had shifted with time. Their cultures blended with fragments of alien influence. Their languages an evolving mix of old Earth tongues and galactic dialects. But their hearts still carried the same unyielding spark that had once made humanity both feared and admired. For generations, Nova Era had survived in silence. The Council could never know they existed. Patrols that wandered too close simply vanished. Traders who heard rumors never returned. Nova Era's leaders raised their children with one law above all: hide, endure, wait. But waiting could not last forever. The galaxy had grown complacent in humanity's absence. Entire civilizations rose and fell in the centuries since Earth's fall. The Council grew corrupt, fattened by its own power, ruling not by wisdom but by fear. Species across the stars quietly resented their overlords, but none dared rise against them, not until the whispers began again. In the academies of distant worlds, forbidden texts were found, fragments of human history that the Council had tried to erase. In pirate dens and smuggler fleets, weapons of unmistakable human design resurfaced. And in the heart of Nova Era, a discovery would soon shatter the galaxy's illusion of safety forever. But for now, in this moment, the galaxy still slept under the Council's shadow. Most believed humanity was gone, a ghost of the past, most, but not all. Because in the darkness of Nova Era, a young historian named Amelia Chen prepared to unlock secrets that had been hidden for 3,000 years. Secrets that would prove Earth had not destroyed itself. Secrets that would awaken humanity from exile. And when humanity awakened, the galaxy would tremble. For the forgotten legend was not just a story. It was a warning, and the day of reckoning was closer than anyone imagined. The archives of Nova Era were unlike anything else in the galaxy. Buried beneath layers of encrypted vaults, sealed within chambers that hadn't been opened in centuries, they were the last fragments of Earth's memory. Historians, linguists, and scientists devoted lifetimes to preserving them. Though much had been lost to time, Amelia Chen had spent her life in those vaults. She was not a soldier, nor a commander, but a seeker of truth. The granddaughter of archivists, she had been raised among crumbling tablets of old Earth languages, half-decayed holovids of cities that no longer existed, and fragments of human art that still stirred emotions too deep to name. To her, these remnants weren't just history. They were promises and proof that humanity had been more than the monster the Council painted it to be. But on the eve of her 30th year, Amelia found something none before her had. It was hidden in Vault Theta, a chamber long thought sealed beyond recovery. Most assumed the data inside had been corrupted by time. Yet Amelia, guided by a half-forgotten cipher she had reconstructed from her grandmother's notes, managed to breach its locks. What flickered to life on her terminal was not a text file, nor an artifact record, but a living intelligence. Designation: Phoenix Protocol. Status dormant. Awaiting human command. The words appeared in stark white against the black screen. Then the voice came smooth, synthetic, and unmistakably alive. "Are you human?" Amelia froze. Her heart pounded, and for a long moment she could only stare at the glowing prompt. The air in the vault seemed to thicken around her. With trembling fingers, she typed a single word. "Yes." The system pulsed. Lines of code streamed like rivers of light. Then, in a tone both mechanical and strangely warm, the intelligence replied, "Then humanity endures. The fire has not died. Protocol Phoenix is now active." What followed unraveled everything she thought she knew. Phoenix was not just an archive. It was an artificial intelligence created in Earth's final days, a repository of all human knowledge, strategy, and culture. While the Council's fleets closed in on Earth, the greatest minds of humanity had poured their brilliance into this digital ark, a last gift to ensure humanity could rise again, no matter how many millennia passed, and Phoenix had waited patient and silent. For 3,000 years, humanity was betrayed, the AI explained, projecting holographic records of Earth's last hours. Amelia watched in stunned silence as scenes unfolded. Council ships bombarding Earth's defenses, silencing its transmissions, erasing its existence from the galactic record. Earth had not destroyed itself in arrogance, as the Council claimed. It had been executed. Tears welled in Amelia's eyes as truth seared through her. The Council's greatest lie, the foundation of their dominance, was shattered. Humanity had not fallen by its own hand. They had been murdered. For generations, Novaera had survived quietly, believing themselves exiles of a doomed world. But now Amelia saw the truth. They were not survivors of a failure. They were heirs of an unbroken legacy. Phoenix began to awaken Novaera with its secrets. Advanced ship schematics lost to the galaxy, strategies from wars long past but still relevant, weapons that dwarfed anything the Council currently wielded, and perhaps most importantly, a record of humanity's spirit, speeches, music, art, stories that carried the fire of resilience. Amelia realized she held the spark that could ignite a revolution, but sparks were dangerous. If she revealed Phoenix, Novaera would no longer be a hidden refuge. They would become a target, the last target the Council could not afford to miss. The choice weighed on her like a star collapsing under its own gravity. Alone in the vault, Amelia whispered to the AI, "If I awaken them..." "There's no going back." Phoenix's reply was calm, resolute. "History has waited long enough. The galaxy must remember what it means to face humanity." And in that moment, Amelia knew the silence of Novaera was ending. The ashes of Earth still burned, and soon the galaxy would feel their fire. For 3 millennia, Novaera had been a world of silence. Its people were taught to blend into shadows, to survive unseen, to keep their heads bowed so the Council would never know they still existed. But the day Amelia Chen unlocked Phoenix, silence died. At first, only a handful of leaders knew of her discovery. She stood before the High Assembly of Novaera, her voice trembling yet resolute as she revealed the truth. The Council had not told a cautionary tale of humanity's self-destruction. They had committed genocide. Earth's fall had been murder, not accident. The chamber erupted with disbelief, outrage, and fear. Generations had lived under the unshakable law of secrecy. To act now meant drawing the wrath of a power that had ruled the stars unchallenged for millennia. But Amelia's words struck deep. "We were told to hide because we were broken," she declared. "But we were never broken. We were silenced. And now the silence ends. The assembly was divided. Some urged patience to study Phoenix quietly, to preserve Novaera a little longer. But others, warriors, engineers, dreamers, felt the spark ignite. Humanity had not endured 3,000 years simply to fade away. They had endured to rise, and so in secret, preparations began. Phoenix became their silent architect. Its databanks unfolded marvels of old Earth engineering, designs for ships that could outrun any Council fleet, weapons tuned to exploit weaknesses the Council had long forgotten, shielding technology that turned Novaera's storms into a natural defense grid. For the first time in millennia, shipyards that had lain dormant roared to life beneath the methane seas. Young men and women, once trained only as miners, farmers, or hidden scouts, now drilled as soldiers. They learned not only tactics of war, but the stories Phoenix carried, of humanity's stubborn defiance, of victories against impossible odds. Songs once banned as relics of a violent species echoed again in Novaera's halls, lifting spirits and sharpening resolve. Yet Amelia knew this fight would not be won by humans alone. The Council ruled an empire of hundreds of species, many of whom lived under its yoke. Oppressed voices had long grumbled in the dark, but none dared defy the Council openly. Humanity's return could change that. Word spread quietly, not through transmissions. Those would be intercepted, but through whispers carried by traders, smugglers, and refugees. Rumors of hidden humans building ships in storm-racked worlds. Stories of an ancient AI that remembered everything the Council wanted forgotten. And to species beaten down by centuries of fear, those whispers became hope. On the mining colonies of the Zelth, workers began sabotaging Council supply lines. On the jungle moons of Karis, entire villages vanished into resistance cells. The Council dismissed these as minor uprisings, but Amelia and her people knew the truth. The galaxy was stirring. Still, the path ahead was perilous. Phoenix's predictions were clear. A direct war against the Council without allies would mean annihilation. Humanity's strength lay not in numbers, but in inspiration. They had to become more than survivors. They had to become a symbol. One night, standing atop Novaera's storm-lashed cliffs, Amelia looked out at the lightning tearing across the skies. She felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. She was no soldier, no commander. Yet here she was, guiding the rebirth of a species the galaxy had declared extinct. Phoenix's voice hummed beside her in a projection drone. "You fear what comes next." "I fear," Amelia admitted, "that we will burn ourselves out before we even begin." The AI's tone was steady, unwavering. "The Council believes you already burned. That belief is their weakness. Rise, Amelia. Rise, Novaera. Rise, humanity. From the ashes you are fire." And so the last children of Earth began their ascent. Not quietly, not hidden, but blazing, ready to remind the galaxy what it had tried to forget. The galaxy had not seen a human warship in 3,000 years. So when the vigilant dawn tore out of hyperspace above the Council's outer fortress of Thaloris, its hull gleaming with angles of forgotten Earth design, the stars themselves seemed to shudder. The attack was codenamed Operation Phoenix. The moment humanity would step out of shadow and announce to the galaxy that they had returned. Amelia Chen stood on the command deck, not as a soldier, but as the mission's voice. Around her, the crew moved with grim determination. They were farmers, miners, students, ordinary Novaerans forged into warriors by necessity. Their eyes carried the fire of 3,000 years of silence finally breaking. Phoenix, the AI, projected tactical streams across the deck. "Council defenses will mobilize in 3 minutes. Their fleet is overconfident. Strike hard, strike fast, and they will falter." The fortress of Thaloris was no mere outpost. It was the beating heart of a Council sector, a hub of trade routes and military presence. To strike it was to declare war, but it was also the perfect target, symbolic, unassailable, and deeply corrupt. For centuries, the Council had grown lax, believing no enemy could touch them. They were about to learn otherwise. The vigilant dawn led a fleet of 20 ships, a fraction of the Council's might. But every vessel was crafted with Phoenix's guidance. Engines burned hotter than Council scanners predicted. Shields shifted dynamically with storm-born energy signatures. Weapons were precise, designed not for drawn-out sieges but surgical destruction. The first volley shattered Thaloris's outer defense satellites. Explosions rippled like suns across the void. Alarms screamed across the station and Council officers scrambled, shouting orders. To them, it must have seemed like an impossible nightmare. Humans, alive, armed, and attacking. Council reinforcements surged, sleek cruisers, their hulls bristling with centuries of domination. The battle that followed was chaos carved into starlight. Human ships moved unpredictably, guided by both Phoenix's calculations and the instinctive recklessness that once made humans feared. They darted between enemy formations, striking at weak points the Council didn't even remember they had. Where the Council fought with rigid doctrine, humanity fought with fury. Amelia stood gripping the rail as the fleet carved its way forward. Every explosion lit the faces of her crew, both terrified and exhilarated. For the first time in generations, they were not prey. They were hunters, but victory came at a price. The vigilant Dawn's sister ship, Resolute Flame, was struck by a barrage that tore through its reactor. Amelia watched helpless as the ship erupted into a burning star, taking hundreds of Noveran lives with it. The crew around her flinched but did not falter. Their losses were fuel. Their pain was purpose. Hours later, the fortress of Thaloris lay in ruin. Its command tower, once a symbol of Council supremacy, cracked apart and fell into its own gravity well. Human banners, long hidden, now burned defiantly across intercepted transmissions. The galaxy heard the message loud and clear. Humanity lives. Humanity fights. Humanity will never again kneel. On worlds far beyond the battlefield, oppressed species felt their hearts surge. If humans, thought extinct for millennia, could rise and strike the Council, then perhaps anyone could. Rebellions flared like sparks in the dark, but in the Council chambers fury boiled. The High Lords declared humanity a plague that must be eradicated once and for all. Orders went out to every fleet. Hunt them, destroy them, erase them utterly this time. Amelia stood in the aftermath, staring at the wreckage drifting across space. Dozens of her people gone, the fleet bloodied but victorious. She knew this was only the beginning. Phoenix's voice cut through the silence. The galaxy knows you exist. The Council knows you strike. Now, Amelia, the war truly begins, and with that, Operation Phoenix passed into legend, the spark that would set the stars ablaze. The ruins of Thaloris still smoldered in the void when whispers began to spread. Smugglers spoke of humans returning with fire. Refugees repeated tales of a fortress brought low in hours. And in the quiet corners of the galaxy, old friends of humanity stirred. Amelia Chen had expected retaliation, but she hadn't expected this. An encrypted transmission reaching Nova Era from coordinates humanity hadn't spoken of in 3,000 years. The message was brief, delivered in an ancient Earth tongue that made her blood run cold. We have kept the flame. Earth endures. Come home. The coordinates pointed to the Sol system. Amelia could hardly breathe as the vigilant dawn approached the familiar star. Her ancestors had told stories of Sol, the cradle of humanity, reduced to ash under the Council's assault. But what they found was not the graveyard of myth. Earth was alive. From orbit, it was breathtaking. Blue oceans shimmered beneath swirling white clouds. Green continents stretched wide, vibrant with life. Forests, rivers, and mountains stood untouched as though millennia of war had never scarred them. Where Amelia expected ruin, she found a paradise preserved. How is this possible? She whispered as the bridge crew gaped in silence. The answer came as a fleet emerged from the planet's shadow. Not human ships, and at least not entirely. Their designs blended alien curves with human angularity. They moved with disciplined grace, surrounding the vigilant dawn. A voice echoed across comms. Humanity, at last you return. The speaker was not human, but Alaris of the Serathi, a species thought neutral in galactic affairs. They appeared on the hollow, tall and silver-skinned, eyes glowing faintly with bioluminescence. Behind them, Amelia glimpsed others, not only Serathi, but delegates of multiple species. Amelia's heart pounded. You preserved Earth? Alaris inclined their head. We hid it. When the Council turned its wrath upon your world, there were those who refused to watch innocents die. We wove shields of light, cloaking Sol in silence. The Council believes Earth destroyed, but in truth it has flourished under our guardianship. Images flickered across the holofeed, cities rebuilt not of steel and smog, but of harmony with nature. Human descendants lived alongside Serathi guides, their culture preserved in secret. They had not been warriors, but stewards, custodians of Earth's rebirth. Tears blurred Amelia's vision. For generations, Novera believed themselves the last, but here was proof Earth lived. Not only lived, on it thrived, yet Earth's preservation had come at a cost. The custodians revealed that their alliance of secret keepers had been hunted relentlessly by the Council, forced to operate in silence. They could not rise on their own. They had waited, hoping that one day Novera's exiles would return with fire enough to finish what had begun. Your strike at Thaloris shook the stars, Alaris said. The galaxy sees hope again, and now, with Earth unveiled, that hope will ignite rebellion. For Amelia, the revelation was both triumph and burden. Novera was not humanity's last refuge, and it was only one half of their survival. The other half had waited on Earth, nurtured in secret. Together they were stronger than she had ever imagined. The decision was made swiftly. Earth would no longer hide. Its people, its guardians, its secrets, all would join the fight. Amelia stood before both Noverans and Earthborn, united for the first time in 3 millennia. We were told our home was gone, she declared, voice steady though her soul trembled. But Earth never fell. We never fell. Now the Council will face not scattered exiles, not fading survivors, but a people united, the children of Nova Era and the children of Earth. And together, we will take back the stars. Across the galaxy, rebellion spread like wildfire. The Council's grip loosened as old allies faltered, questioning their loyalty. And above the restored blue jewel of Earth, humanity prepared for the war to come. The lost home had returned. And with it the heart of a species long thought dead. The galaxy trembled. Word of Earth's return spread faster than the Council could silence it. Whispers turned into shouts and shouts into full-fledged uprisings. On distant colonies, enslaved miners threw down their tools. Merchant guilds once loyal to the Council refused tribute. Systems that had cowered for centuries now looked toward Sol with hope. The Council, for the first time in millennia, faced a real threat. Inside the obsidian chambers of the High Spire, the 11 convened. Their voices overlapped in discord, ancient tongues crackling with anger and fear. One word dominated the chamber: Omega. The humans must be broken, hissed the Veyrak delegate, its scales shivering with malice. They carry rebellion wherever they walk. We crushed them once, yet they rise again. No more half measures. Another counselor, one of the crystalline Xi, flared with cold light.
Unleashing Omega will scar the stars themselves.
Entire sectors will burn. Even our allies will question our rule. The Archon, draped in robes that shimmered like liquid night, silenced them with a single gesture. Then let them question. Fear binds stronger than loyalty. The Omega Protocol was made for this day. And with that, the order was given. On Nova Era, Amelia Chen felt the shift like a storm in her bones. Reports flooded in. Council fleets abandoning defensive posts, converging instead around a single convoy. Strange energy readings rippled across space, disrupting sensors even light years away. It wasn't just a weapon they were moving. It was something older, darker. She stood on the Vigilant Dawn's command deck, staring at the data scrolling across the hollow. The readings made no sense. Gravity spikes, space-time distortions, quantum fields unraveling. "This isn't a fleet," murmured her science officer. "It's a crucible. They're forging something." Then came the intercepted transmission, a chilling fragment of the Council's own voice. Omega Protocol initiated. By decree of the 11, we call forth the Harbinger. The Harbinger, a weapon whispered of in forbidden archives. Not a ship, not a bomb. Something alive, or at least something that had once been alive. Far beyond the edges of mapped space, hidden in the tomb of a dead star, the Harbinger stirred. Forged in an age before the Council's rise, it was said to be a remnant of the precursors. An entity bound in chains of gravity and plasma, neither machine nor beast, but both. It did not serve willingly. It obeyed only because of the seals carved into its very essence. Now those seals were breaking. The Harbinger's awakening sent shockwaves rippling through hyperspace. Worlds cried out as tides shifted unnaturally, moons fractured, and stars dimmed. Amelia's fleet felt the echo even from Sol. Her strategist, Admiral Karos, slammed his fist on the console. "They've lost their minds. That thing will unmake everything in its path, Council or not." But Amelia saw the cruelty in the move. This was not madness. It was precision. The Council would unleash the Harbinger not only to crush humanity, but to remind the galaxy who held the power to command extinction itself. A message soon arrived from the Council itself, broadcast on every frequency, dripping with arrogance. "People of the galaxy, behold. The Council is eternal. The humans are dust, and dust they shall remain. Resist, and the Harbinger will come for you as well. Submit, and you will be spared." It was meant to terrify. Instead, it ignited fury. On Nova Era, soldiers volunteered in droves. On Earth, the Guardians who had hidden for 3 millennia declared open war. Across the galaxy, free systems no longer whispered. They roared. Amelia gathered her commanders. Her voice was steady, though her heart raced with the weight of destiny. They call it the Harbinger. They believe it will end us. But I say this, humanity does not bow. We will meet their monster head-on. If the Council wants to unmake the stars, then we will show them that even in the darkness we are the fire. The room erupted in defiant cheers. Plans were drawn, fleets mobilized, alliances forged in desperation and hope. The Council had played its ultimate card. Now the galaxy would see if humanity's vengeance could burn even brighter than extinction itself. And far away, the Harbinger's eyes, if they could be called eyes, opened, glowing like collapsing suns. The war for the stars had entered its final, apocalyptic phase. The void screamed. From the shattered shell of a dead star, the Harbinger emerged in full. It was not a ship, not a beast, not a machine. It was all three and none. A titanic form of jagged obsidian armor wrapped around living sinew, with plasma veins glowing like rivers of molten light. Its wings stretched wider than continents, folding and unfolding as though space itself bent to their motion. Every sensor aboard the Vigilant Dawn shorted at once. Amelia Chen stood rigid as her crew scrambled to recalibrate. The Harbinger wasn't just visible. It pressed against the mind like a storm of whispers clawing at the edges of thought. Some officers clutched their temples and cried out, "Shield resonance dropping." One technician shouted, "Nav systems won't lock. It's bending the grid." Another yelled. The Harbinger raised its head and an entire moon shattered in orbit of the Council's chosen battlefield. 1 billion tons of rock broke into glowing shards that spiraled around the Titan like a crown. Humanity's answer came seconds later. The Vigilant Dawn warped into position alongside Earth's hidden fleet and Nova Era's war armada. Hundreds of ships, forged in secret across millennia, converged on one point. Their hulls gleamed with alien-forged alloys, their cannons blazing with energies humanity had adapted and stolen across the stars. "By Sol and Nova Era," Amelia declared, her voice carried across every allied frequency. "We stand together. Today humanity is whole. Today we strike back." The fleets roared forward. The first salvos struck like thunder. Plasma lances and rail slugs hammered against the Harbinger's armored hide. Explosions cascaded across its body, each strike carving shallow craters into its obsidian shell. Yet for every wound, streams of molten light sealed the breach, knitting its form together again. Then it retaliated. A beam of raw gravitational force tore through the void, slicing 3 frigates into ribbons of twisted metal. Space rippled as though reality itself was water. Whole squadrons vanished in the blink of an eye, folded into nothingness. Amelia's jaw clenched, but she did not waver. "Target the joints. Don't give it time to heal. Fire everything we have." From the surface of Earth, defense arrays hidden for millennia awoke. Great cannons buried under mountains pierced the sky, firing lances of solar-forged energy. The beams arced into space, striking the Harbinger with power channeled directly from Sol's star. For the first time, the Titan staggered. Cheers erupted across Allied comms. But it was short-lived. The Harbinger unfurled its wings fully and reality buckled. Shards of shattered moons spun outward as weapons guided by unseen forces. One massive fragment struck an Allied dreadnought, impaling it straight through the core. Another broke an entire formation of fighters. The battle became chaos in a storm of fire, metal, and broken dreams. And yet, amidst the carnage, there was unity. Sarathi ships fought side by side with Novaran frigates. Earthborn guardians piloted experimental craft alongside smugglers who had once fled from council taxes. Every species that had suffered in silence now hurled their fury at the monster that symbolized the council's tyranny. Amelia gritted her teeth as her ship trembled under impact. Sparks flew across the bridge, alarms screamed, but she refused to yield. "This is it," she whispered, staring at the colossal shadow that filled her view. "The moment that decides everything. Then, against all odds, a breakthrough." A squadron of Novaran strike ships managed to carve deep into the Harbinger's left wing joint, exposing raw flesh and plasma conduits beneath. The Titan reeled, screeching not with sound but with waves of psychic anguish that rattled every mind in the system. Amelia seized the moment. "Concentrate fire! Push it back!" Every Allied vessel unleashed their fury. The void turned white with the brilliance of detonations. The Harbinger convulsed, light spilling from its wounds. For the first time it bled, but it was not defeated. Not yet. As its body writhed, the Titan's chest split open, revealing a core brighter than any star, a singularity heart, pulsing with energy strong enough to unmake entire worlds. And as the Harbinger drew back to unleash it, Amelia realized the truth. This was no ordinary weapon. This was extinction, caged and unleashed by the Council, and now it was aimed at Earth. The Harbinger's singularity heart pulsed like a newborn star, building to detonation. Every ship, every soldier, every soul in the Sol system felt the pressure of that rising doom. If unleashed, Earth would vanish in fire, and with it the hope of a reborn humanity. On the vigilant dawn, alarms wailed as Amelia Chen stared into the abyss. Around her, officers shouted reports on their weapons overheating, hull integrity failing, allies burning out one by one. The combined fleet had bloodied the Titan, but it wasn't enough. "We can't take another blast," Admiral Karros growled, voice tight with despair. "One more strike and the system's gone." Amelia closed her eyes. She thought of her ancestors, the exiles of Novera who had sworn that someday, somehow, humanity would rise again. She thought of Earth, hidden for 3,000 years, now reborn and begging not to be lost a second time. And she thought of the children, the faces of generations who would never see a free galaxy if she failed here. "No," she whispered. "We don't die here. Not today." The Harbinger spread its wings wide, pulling power from the void. Its chest blazed brighter, gravity warping as ships across the battlefield tumbled from its pull. Entire squadrons were dragged helplessly toward the core, screaming over comms before vanishing into light. But amidst the chaos, Amelia's strategist flagged something: a vulnerability. The earlier strike on the Harbinger's wing joint had left more than just wounds. It had destabilized the flows of energy that kept its body knitted together. The monster was bleeding power, and its singularity heart was overloading. If struck directly and with enough force, it might not just wound the Harbinger. It might destroy it, but the cost would be catastrophic. No ship could survive getting close enough. Amelia didn't hesitate. "Prepare the vigilant dawn for ramming speed." Gasps filled the bridge. Karros grabbed her arm. "You'll kill us all." Her eyes met his, steady and resolute. "We're already dead if we fail. But if we succeed, we'll buy life for everyone else." Word spread through the fleet within minutes. Humanity's flagship was going in. At first, protests erupted across the comms. Novaran captains shouting to take her place, Earth Guardians begging her to reconsider. But Amelia's voice cut through the storm. "This isn't just my ship. This is our legacy. We've carried the weight of extinction for 3,000 years. Now we carry the flame into the heart of the beast. If this is our last dawn, let it be the dawn of freedom." Silence followed. Then one by one, voices across the fleet pledged to cover her path. Entire wings of fighters turned their guns on the Harbinger, pouring fire into its wounds. Sarathi warships linked shields around the vigilant dawn, forming a living corridor through which the flagship charged. The Harbinger screamed, sensing the danger. Shards of broken moons rained down like meteors, annihilating dozens of escorts. But the path held. Humanity's allies bled for every meter of ground bought. Inside the bridge, Amelia gave her final order. "All power to engines. Lock the trajectory. And thank you, all of you." The vigilant dawn surged forward, tearing through debris and fire. The Singularity Core filled the viewport, blinding in its brilliance. For an instant, time seemed to freeze. Amelia thought she saw Earth, whole and shining, reflected in the light. Then impact. The universe went white. Silence fell across the stars. When the light cleared, the Harbinger was gone, its vast form torn apart, scattered into a million fragments of dead stone and fading plasma. The Singularity heart collapsed in on itself, imploding into nothingness. The vigilant dawn was no more. Amelia Chen and her crew were legends, their sacrifice etched in the fabric of history. But Earth still hung in the void, whole. Humanity still lived. The Council's ultimate weapon had been destroyed, and in the aftermath, their grip across the galaxy began to unravel. Rebellions flared brighter, allies abandoned the 11, and the myth of Council invincibility died with the Harbinger. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity looked up at the stars and saw not chains but freedom. The last dawn had come, and with it the beginning of a new era. The Harbinger is gone. The Council's shadow is cracked. Humanity stands not as scattered survivors, but as a united force that has reminded the galaxy what it means to rise, to resist, and to endure. But this victory is not the end. It is the beginning. For every tyrant toppled, another waits in silence. For every chain broken, there are more still to shatter. The galaxy has lived under the rule of fear for too long. And now, embers of rebellion spread from system to system. Entire civilizations look to Earth and Novera as a symbol that no empire, no matter how ancient, is unbreakable. And yet, the Council still lives. The 11 have not fallen. Somewhere in their hidden spires they are already plotting their next move, their whispers reaching into the farthest corners of space. The question is no longer if humanity will fight. It is how far they will go. Will they become liberators tearing down the last pillars of oppression, or conquerors seizing the throne of stars for themselves? The answer lies not in the past 3,000 years, but in the choices made from this moment on. This is the story of humanity. This is the fire that will not die. If you've stood on the bridge with Amelia Chen, if you've felt the rage of exile and the hope of return, then join the journey. Share the tale. Keep the flame alive. Because stories like these remind us, in fiction and in life, that no matter how dark the night, there is always a dawn. Humanity strikes back. Humanity endures. Humanity forever.